welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here. We'll modify this and improve as we go along. It's all good. So I think the backstory is important here for you guys to know who you're listening to, why you should be here, that type of thing. We really connected on some like law of attraction type philosophy, and although we went to the same school half a lifetime ago, didn't really know each other back then, and reconnected these days through some contracting. We've got a kind of a custom home doing a project, and I'm a contractor, so we really resonated on kind of energy and philosophy, and we had this idea. I've kind of thought about the podcast thing intermittently in my life. Finding somebody else that's like, hey, let's do that, let's share some love, let's share our lessons of life, and offer as much value to others that we can while we kind of refine philosophy.
Absolutely. And this is Tritt. I'm Joe Liggett.
What's up?
Coming to you from Colorado. So as Aaron said, him and I became aware when we reconnected that we're very focused on the same energy levels in life and the same outlooks, but in different ways and in different paths. And so Aaron and I thought, it's brought so much value to our life. Let's see if we can bring value to others' lives and open them up to maybe a new way of thinking that we both have personal experience in it, making our lives substantially better through everything life brings to us and everybody else. So our hope is to provide some value to you all and feel like we can make a change in one way or the other, and share some knowledge and hopefully connect with a bigger community and meet some new people in the process. Absolutely.
So if we resonate with anybody listening to this stuff, we'd love to hear from you guys, and that is one of our kind of goals with this is to really expand the general consciousness level. We've got there's so much wisdom out there that many of you will likely have to share and want to put out there and may not have a platform. So we're hoping that this can be a platform that not only we can bring value, but you listening, if you've got something that you really would like to get out there to people that have a similar mindset or that could use this, but you don't know how to put it out, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and really just expand upon that and maybe help you perceive your ideas in a different light also. So
yeah, absolutely. So just to preface a couple things, my personal journey, I was struggling with quite a few things after college. I think just what is life about? What am I about? What's the knowledge that I just paid so much money for, and how do I actually get a return on that or make something of myself? And it was just kind of in this lost place in a way. And I ended up watching a movie called The Secret, which talked about the law of attraction and really your mental capacity driving your success and your route in life and your happiness in life. And I just thought there's no harm in trying that. And so I really took that approach and believed whatever I wanted to believe and whatever I wanted to achieve. And it came to be true and helped me greatly. And so that was my entry into this world and into this way of thinking, and my wife Marie is now into it, and our life has just flourished through everything that it's brought our way, and I'm sure Aaron and I will get into some of those challenges at some point. But like Aaron said, we went to high school together, 20 years ago. Yeah, that's nuts. I'm 35 and 34, so about 20 years ago, went to high school together and knew Aaron, but didn't really run in the same circles. Really neither here nor there. But Aaron has helped my wife and I do some work on 2 of our houses now. And this last time that he came out, we just clicked and started talking about life. And I could tell Aaron had this incredibly educated and unique outlook on life that really matched mine, but in different ways. And I would say in more of a broad scope. He's studied more aspects of it, where mine has been really mostly the law of attraction and positive thinking and vibes and karma, but Aaron has a much more broad educated scope that I've learned a lot from, and so we thought it'd be good to share that, and I'll let Aaron kind of hit on his journey.
Yeah, so I think that one thing that just caught my ear was that you came across The Secret, and I do think that's how it works, right? That you don't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you can't see. And sometimes there's just some spark that just can change your life. It can open a way of thinking, and perhaps this podcast, you landed on it, can be a thing for you that does that. Maybe this is a route that can open your mind to thinking about how to be a little bit better. And that doesn't mean necessarily like more money or more abundance. Those are kind of things that just come with right thought. And it's almost somewhat random when you find things like this, because you've probably been exposed to them your whole life and didn't catch it, right? They were there, and there's always been abundance.
Yeah.
And you just didn't see it. And somebody pitched it to you in a way where it resonated and you understood it. And that's I think how it happens for me. Again, lots of personal struggles in my life. I think everybody does. It's not like struggle is a hardship reserved for the poor. It's a real thing that everybody fights in some way or gets to accept in some way, depending on how they perceive the world. And there's a lot of randomness. I mean, I found a rabbit hole of thinking and learning about what I call the masters maybe 5 years ago, and I was like blackout drunk thinking about how to meditate, and I passed out on the couch. And I woke up to an advertisement talking about like the benefits of reading books, and I bought that as an idea. I said, what am I missing? You know, what don't I know? I think I know stuff, but I'm young. I'm not exactly where I want to be in life. This person's got more than I do, but he's sharing some wisdom with me here for no cost. Maybe he's got something that's valuable, and what if I just opened my mind to hear it?
Yeah.
And so it put me on this journey. And I remember the first book I bought it's one that many people have heard. It's kind of a popular one in the self-help region called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. And I bought it as an audiobook for I think $7. And I remember I was at work and I just started crying because I questioned if I was going to spend $7 on that. And the gift it was to my mindset. I can't imagine where my life would be had I not had that random experience, followed my intuition, and then was open to the knowledge of the zeitgeist of human population over time.
Yeah.
And I was just, it was funny, I was carrying a box of tile, and I just started crying, you know, and it just hit me, and I was like, wow, like I can't believe that I almost didn't do this.
Yeah. And now that you know that, you probably would have paid multiple of $7. I mean, it was so valuable to you in your life. We'll put a link to that book in the description, and we'll put a link to The Secret in the description as well. And I think Aaron hit on it too. Abundance is defined differently by everyone. Maybe you do want money. Maybe that's your thing, is needing more wealth, and you look at wealth in financial terms. Or maybe you need health, you know, and that's your thing, and you find that you're constantly sick or just not feeling great. Chances are it's a mental state change that will help that more than anything. Believing that you're healthy, thinking of yourself as healthy, only partaking in activities and thoughts that are healthy. On top of money and health, it could be relationships. You could be struggling in your relationships with your family or with with somebody that you're with. So it could be anything. You know, abundance can come in any form, and whatever's important to you in life is where you're going to find and focus on what abundance you need. But it all comes from thoughts, feelings, and then action when it presents yourself.
Or attitude.
Or yeah, attitude, and you know, people want to surround themselves with positive people. My biggest struggle or challenge or frustration in this path has been noticing people who are completely opposite of how they should be thinking, right? But you know that if anyone adopts this way of thinking, it works the same for everyone. It doesn't discriminate, right? And so if anyone really can fully dive in and accept it, and just almost be ignorant to any doubts they have of oh, how could that work? How, you know, I don't understand that, or it doesn't make sense, or I can't prove that. Like one of my family members is all about, I have to be able to prove something. You know, it's got to be tangible. He has a very scientific mind, and I keep telling him, what's the harm? You know, what's the harm in changing the way, your frame of mind, and believing that you will achieve whatever you want to achieve, even though you can't mentally grasp how that can just work out. You know, the universe just puts the puzzle pieces together. But trying to get people to fully buy in, I've noticed that they'll start to buy in, or they'll think about it, or they'll show slight interest, but they won't fully let their mind jump off the edge and just dive in completely. And so that's something that I think hopefully we can pass on to you all as well, as we pass on books that Aaron's read. He's a much bigger reader than I am, and I'm trying to get that from him. But, books that he's read, I'm a big documentary fan, so I'll be posting some documentaries that I'd recommend.
There's an evolution of everything, and nature is patient. It's taken a long time to get to where we are today, and it's going to keep on going past us. And it's a privilege and a gift that we're here, but to expect instantaneous results isn't really how anything works. You look at simple analogies, you look at the evolution of the automobile, right? We almost have auto-driving cars right now, but they started with horses and carriages, or with a wagon wheel, or with all these micro steps times time, right, have gotten us where there's somebody developed a computer, and then somebody else learned how to connect that dot and then to put that in a car, and all these little things, right? It's the same thing with being an athlete of some nature, right? Many people, like you said, fall off this idea of a secret. They don't see the instantaneous consequences of it. But that's like going to the gym, right? You can do it for a month, but if you don't apply it correctly, like the exercises and progressive overload and the right kind of caloric balance and all those things, you're not going to see results, and you're going to get demotivated and unmoralized about it. And so this law of attraction philosophy is the same thing. If you have doubts and hold doubts, it's then you're resonating on that wavelength, and you don't get the results. So
you get the results just in the negative. Whatever
right.
You're focusing on, you're going to get.
That's right. So if you're like, this doesn't work, it's all bullshit, that's true for you.
It's not going to work, and it's all bullshit.
That's right.
You think your car's going to get dinged in the grocery store parking lot?
Right.
You're the one whose car's going to get dinged, and just anything.
I think about some of the things that I've done on the positive side of my development, unconsciously relating myself to this law. And I became an expert motorcycle road racer because I decided I was going to do that, and that it was possible. Although I was very slow. I was worse than I remember the day that I decided to do that. I went on a group canyon ride with 20 people, and there was a girl, older girl, on a old motorcycle, 1990s Hawk, and I'm on this beautiful 636. It's 2 years old. I've got 100 horsepower on her or something like that, and she just whomped me up the canyon. And I said, well, obviously it's not the tool, it's me. Mm-hmm. So I need to work on me and my perception of how things work. I thought I was at some limit that clearly I wasn't. And then I put in practice and made relationships and put in time and developed my craft and my skill over a decade. And I got to a point where I was very fast on a motorcycle, but it wasn't instantaneous. I wasn't but I knew then that it was going to work.
Yeah.
And I believed that it would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, totally different story, but when I first got into The Secret, it kind of challenges you. And I watched the documentary. There's a book as well. So if you're a reader, there's a book. If you're not, then watch the documentary.
Sure.
But it posed a challenge for anyone watching it. It said, in order to test this and show yourself it works, pick an amount of money that is not realistic that you would make that at this point in your life. And I remember at that point in my life, I think I made $2,500 a month. And so I thought, all right, I want to make $5,000 in a month. And I chose just the next month. I think it was March of 2009, and I chose April of 2009. I said, I'm going to make $5,000 in April. No idea how I'm going to do it, but I just totally believed it. I made my $2,500 a salary. I ended up getting an $1,800 tax return that year, which I had never gotten a big tax return. I still don't really know why I got that tax return. And then the last day of April, and this is absolutely true, last day of April, I got a refund from a health insurance incident from 5 years prior. Never heard of health insurance companies sending a massive refund. and it literally equaled $5,000 that month to the T.
Wow.
I told a gentleman who I know about 2 months ago to do a similar thing. He came down with a really rare disease called moya moya, and he did a GoFundMe because it's a $250,000 surgery, and he didn't have health care, and so it was kind of going slower than he thought. They had a news, they'd been on the news and kind of repped this GoFundMe, and he was really downtrodden. I said, hey, I want you to watch The Secret tonight, and I want you to pick a donation amount that is pretty unrealistic that you would get.
But it's specific.
It's specific, right? It's a specific amount. And he did so, and that night, somebody overnight donated $10,000, which was their number, and it was an anonymous donor of $10,000 on the dot. And so these are just small examples that as you get into what Aaron and I are talking about, choose some examples, and you will be able to prove it to yourself. Like Aaron said, it might take more time, but it's also very dependent on how much you put into it, how much you believe, and taking the action when the opportunity presents itself. That's a big one. I think you have to act when you see that opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. You strike when the fire's hot and the motivation's there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you have specific goals, right, then you know where to aim your effort, and then you can act correctly.
Yes.
To get the things, right? So sometimes it will come from like what's perceived as divine intervention, right? Where health insurance from 5 years ago, right? That wasn't on anything that you did besides defining what you wanted.
Yes.
Right? So sometimes it'll come like that, but sometimes it's going to come from hard work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and just changing your mental state, I think, automatically changes. Whatever you're focusing on, that's where your mind and where your body, it's automatically going to bring you on a path to focus on that, right? And it's automatically going to bring, it's all frequencies. Humans have energy, and it's proven. And so it's all going to bring, those items are going to come to you naturally just because you're thinking about them, you're focusing on them. You're going to have the energy out there to bring that to you. I found out when Aaron and I reconnected, we vastly have a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same goals of where we want to end up in our career, but we're also vastly different people. We always have been, but the way we think aligns so well that our differences really don't matter, and they're a benefit to us because we learn from each other almost constantly.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's super cool. And, so one thing I wanted to hit on, I went to a conference it was a Colorado Thought Leaders Forum conference, and this is executives in the business world. I was invited by kind of my life coach, who's a very successful businessman, and he couldn't make it that day, and so he said, hey, would you like my ticket? It sounds like something you're really into, right? Thought and thought leaders. So I said, absolutely, and I went, and it was all about the flow state, and the state of flow is really just when you're in that groove and you feel like you're firing on all cylinders, your energy's up, you're very excited, you're very driven, and how you can get in that flow state and how you can increase the frequency of your flow state, because that's when your productivity raises 50%, your happiness and your health and everything raises, and it really allows you to get into the mindset that we're talking about. So a couple things that I think I'm trying to focus on, because I realize that I kind of strike out on
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like how big was this?
It's about 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was a really famous speaker that came in, Stephen, gosh, I should know the name. Stephen Kotler was the speaker, and one of his books, it was called The Art of Impossible, and he has a number of books. So Stephen Kotler, last name Kotler, I'll put that in the description as well.
Yeah.
A really famous speaker. He's spoken for to hundreds of thousands of people. Works with Jeff Bezos. Works with all the heads of these massive companies, and talks about how flow is required for them to get where they were. And so what he talked about was the necessary pieces of somebody's life to achieve a true flow state and achieve it frequently. Those include sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Nutrition, hydration, making sure that you get your 8-ounce glasses of water a day. Friendship and social support, you really need that outlet, and just like how Aaron and I have connected, you need this. However it is in your life, whether it's friends, family, whatever it is, you need that really, really bad. Gratitude, which I've come to learn is probably, I think, the most important thing in this whole.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just showing gratitude and thinking about that and writing down what you're grateful for every day. So the next one is mindfulness. Mindfulness is really just kind of meditation. It's just letting your mind release from your body, right? And just kind of be in a blank space almost, while setting tasks or just thinking deeply. So he said 90 to 120 minutes is perfect, but if you can only get 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, get it. Try to do it at the beginning of your day. If you have kids, try to do it before they wake up. Do not look at your phone before this, because that's going to enter thoughts into your mind that are going to detract from your ability to do this. So yeah, try to just do 90 to 120 minutes, and that's a time where you set tasks for your day. You just think through life, and you kind of release from the daily stresses. And then exercise, 20 to 40 minutes a day of exercise. So when I likened this to you and I saw that I lacked a lot of these. Like sleep, a lot of times I might get 7-8 hours, but I'm also a night owl, where I'll get like my mind's firing at night, and I'll either get into something, whether it's working on my house or watching TV, which I need to cut down on, or whatever. Sleep, I need to focus better on and getting better sleep. Nutrition, I'm starting to go down that path, but again, something I haven't reached where I should be. Hydration, not quite there. Friendship and social support, that's really where I'm kind of strong. I'm just a social guy, I love it. Gratitude, I pride myself on. Mindfulness, though, I need to increase on, and exercise. Whereas I look at you, and like, of that list, how would you rate yourself?
So I'll do that in a second. I think one of the important things about where we're going to go with this and our philosophy about life, and it's going to help see results, is this kind of idea of honest self-evaluation.
Yeah.
Right? When you're like, I'm Superman when you're not, is very limiting.
Yeah, and no one's Superman, right?
Right.
You always improve.
Right. And so, so where am I good here? I'm good on sleep. I've got my nutrition far more dialed than I used to, but it's because I've had stomach problems for a decade before. And I avoided them, and when I finally faced that dragon or that demon, and I knew that I was strong enough that I could solve the puzzle, I can't believe that I didn't do it earlier. Yeah. And the amount of, I guess, pride now, and like, wow, I can like kind of control my body in a better way, is it's both a point of pride now, but it's also a point of like embarrassment that I didn't do it earlier. And
let the motorcycles pass.
Nutrition's one of these things on this list that I've just had help with from other people. Doctors have helped, a partner helps, my physical, like, athletic mentor helps, right? So books have helped. Just, I didn't know enough, and I feel like that's mostly science in my life right now. Hydration is fine. Friendship's great. Gratitude, of course. Like, we're here.
We're here.
Right? And no matter like how hard my life has been in different points, I've pretty much always had that philosophy of it's all good, because it is. And even like when you meet the great God Pain, like he's just a teacher. Mm-hmm. Mindfulness. I think that there is some level of difficulty in this in the world, because there is so much input, and it takes conscientious effort to set time aside. Now, is that first thing in the morning before the phone? For me, not always, honestly. One of the gifts of how I make money and stuff in life is that I'm autonomous as a being, and so I'd say most of my life I spend in purposeful thought.
I agree. Yeah, that's something I would actually rate you strongest at, and it could be when you climb. Like you're mentally probably in, I wouldn't say like a blank space, but in a flow space, right? Yeah. Where your mind is in a good spot when you're climbing and doing what you enjoy.
Well, and I think that those are like physical flows, like racing motorcycles and climbing and running, and like all that's like physical flow, where all I'm doing is being present. Yeah, especially with climbing and racing, because if you don't do that, you're getting hurt for it.
Yeah.
And so, like, when there's times where I've had maybe personal stresses or something like that, I'll skip a race, right? I'm not going to die.
Smart.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like you need to be there and be there. And if you can't put everything else away, you shouldn't be out there, right? But it also is this reciprocal thing where you put on the suit that puts you there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really, that kind of transitions nicely to exercise, which is, if you put on that suit, it gets you there, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I just don't have that motivation to exercise or whatever. It's like, well, start with the suit, right? Put on the gym shorts, put on the shoes, and then you'll have cognitive dissonance if you don't go do it.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to go to the gym. You just put the clothes on and you'll be like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll at least do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you refine that over time.
Exactly.
I think this list is like pretty important.
Anything you'd add to it?
Yeah, I don't see here like purposeful growth, right? I see there's maybe mindfulness, but that's more like presence, I think, and friendship and social support. That obviously adds to it, right? Because they expose you to things. But I do think that for me, one of the gifts, like, we all spend the time with movies and whatever the phone's being used for, whether that be like monitoring stocks obsessively, or whether that be monitoring people obsessively. And obsessively is kind of a presumption here. Maybe you don't do that. I don't know. But the scientists that make the apps are pretty smart.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an uphill battle for us if you use the thing to be ahead of that curve. Pretty much not possible without like some sort of plan on how you use the technology. So, like, for me, a lot of my phone apps are like Audible type programs. Even like when I eat lunch, I use my phone and I read physical books, because sometimes like reading a book is in an audio form. It puts that person's voice in your head, and reading in text format is your own voice.
Yeah.
So some books that might have great wisdom, really don't translate in an audio book.
You know what I found? That book you told me about, was it The Science of Getting Rich?
Yes.
Was the name of it?
Wallace Waddles.
Yes. So the same thing. Like I said, I've never been I wouldn't say a great reader. It's just something that my mind, I've always kind of had a little bit of ADD, so I'll find myself trailing off, and 30 pages later I'll be like, oh shit, what did I just read?
Sure.
So I tried the audiobook, but the voice was so unimpactful, and whoever narrated it kind of ruined the book, right? And so then I did order the book, and now I haven't read it yet, but the audiobook didn't really work for me. One thing I want to hit on, you had mentioned, I think you had mentioned God in your statement, and I think that it's good to talk about whatever works for you personally. Like, The Secret talks about how it doesn't define itself as religion, or just says you have to believe that there are forces that whether you term it the Lord or God, or I call it the universe.
Or thinking substance, or Allah,
or just like none of it, but you have to believe that there's something that is allowing these things to align, right? And it's faith. It's really faith. And
I think this is something I'm pretty sensitive to, which is you don't gotta do anything, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do this.
That's true.
But if you don't have everything that you want in life, it's the wisdom of all of society times time, right? We're not innovating anything here. We're just using things that everybody in every culture across the planet has seen and tried to describe. And so to say that God, I mean, that's such a personal idea. I mean, what's it even mean?
Yeah. Everyone has their own definition.
Yeah.
Right?
And to think that you know the answer is likely not true, because you think in English if you're listening to us, which means you already have limited perception.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. That's a good point.
So there's something about it, though, that it is important that if you want to see results with this methodology, that you have the faith that it works. And it's not a religion. We're not asking for tithe. There's no structure of you must do X, X, X. It's your own agenda, you know. There's really very few things that make this a rule, and the rules are generally that you have to have faith that it's going to work out, and that you should be looking for win-win opportunities by adding value to other people and not working on the competitive plane. If you're trying to take from people, it will not work.
And positivity, I'd say, is another one. Like you have to be positive.
Right.
Any negative thoughts? I know I talked to Aaron at one point. We both just completely avoid people that are seriously negative, right? And unless it's somebody that's kind of weighing how to change their mindset, or someone that we believe we can help. But for me, I know for sure, if there's somebody that just has shown repeated negativity, it's all they talk about, and the world's out to get them, and I hit traffic coming over here, I just kind of don't. I don't want to surround myself with people like that.
That's right, and it is their own punishment.
Yeah.
Like, the punishment of that attitude is their existence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people that have major resources, I work with millionaires all the time. Almost all of them are super positive. And a lot of the poor people that I know don't share that. And it's not like there's an exact apples to apples here, because you can make money in a dishonest way, but have internal distress, right? So it's not really winning. When you know you're cheating people, you can't resonate like that's the right thing.
Yeah.
So you're already being punished too, even if externally you're winning.
Yep.
And so when you have this positive mindset, it brings people that have that think about, how do we partner up and do something great? How do we do something that can offer you some value? And that times a large network can create everything you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess kind of to move to a conclusion, this is our first podcast, or our first YouTube video or podcast, whatever you want to call it.
So thanks and welcome.
Yeah, thank you and welcome. You're going to see kind of a polishing of this, something that we just really wanted to do. Hope to bring value to you and to the world, and meet new people and expand our journeys through this. But you'll see kind of more, whether you call it polish or definition or whatever it might be. We haven't even chosen a name yet, so we're here. We're getting rolling. If you guys have ideas for names, or you're really into the same way of thinking, and recommendations or takes on anything, post anything in the comments. Subscribe. That always is great. I know we're early in the game, but you'll see more coming, and so subscribe, and you'll be notified when it comes. And we appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you. Much
Joining
love.
us. Yeah. Much love.